Welcome back to another episode of Coding with Kevin. I'm really excited about this one today. I've been asking you guys what you want to learn about. You've been letting me know in the comments, so I'm excited to share with you today's coding challenge. Let's go. So like I said, I've been asking you guys in the comments, what do you want to learn? And the two most common things that I've been hearing are more about interviews and more about coding challenges. So today I'm going to share with you guys a React coding challenge I had probably about the time I was interviewing for a mid-level position. Today is going to be the Palindrome coding challenge. So essentially a palindrome is the same word spelled backwards as it is forwards, okay? So if you have mom, if you flip it around is mom, right? Dad is dad, okay? If you have dog, it doesn't work.
Squirrel!
But what I want to do is showcase how can you stand out from the competition? How can you show that you have skills that are applicable to what they're looking for without them necessarily needing to ask you it? So before we get into it, make sure you hit the like button. If you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button down below. Huge thank you to everybody who already is subscribed, and let's go. All right, so I'm gonna open up my Git Bash terminal, and we're gonna do an npx create React app, and then let's call it the palindrome test. And we're gonna let it do its thing. So you'll know it's done once you get the happy hacking. And the npx is just a way so you don't have to do like a global install of React. You can essentially just like run the command and quickly create a React project. So what we're gonna do is we're going to cd in the palindrome test, and then I use VS Code. So my shortcut to just open it from this folder is code space period enter. And it opened up in my other monitor, but here we are. So I'm gonna do some quick setup. I'm gonna go to the app.css, Control A, erase everything and save. I'm gonna go to the app.js, and I'm going to just delete everything in there so we can start from scratch. Let's delete the logo too, because yeah, now we're there. Okay, so we're gonna need a couple things. We're first gonna need an input field. We're gonna need a button. And then we're going to need like a success. So we'll do a div and we'll be like, yay. And we'll hit save. Now I go up here, new terminal. With React, you're gonna do npm start. And it's gonna go ahead and, something's already running. I'll stop the thing that's running. We'll hit new and we'll try it again. And we can see it's just going to open right up in our local host, and we have everything stuck in the upper left hand corner. Let's go ahead and get it out of that corner. Bada boom. So let's create a div tag, and we're gonna do class name equals main, because we need a container for all this. So I'm gonna copy that, bring it down here, boom. And then I want my input and my button to be on the same line, but I want the success message to be on a separate line. So we'll create another div. We'll call that input area. And then we're gonna go ahead and move those guys up top, put them there. And yeah, that's gonna be some good organization. Let's give the button a name called Submit. We're gonna hit save and jump over to the CSS file. All right, so for app, we're gonna give the app a height of 100 view height. We're gonna display it as grid. I like Flexbox, but I like grid just so much more, especially when it comes to simple things. And then we're gonna justify content center and align content center. Oops, not items. Sometimes with VS Code, you just move a little too quick. So now we can see everything is centered, right? If we go ahead and right click on it, we can notice if I hover over app, we've got the entire viewport. And do you see this purple dotted area right in there? That is our grid. So now we're going to define our main section. So did I do uppercase or lowercase? I did lowercase. All right, and for our main, we're going to do display grid as well. And then we're just going to make 2 rows. You can shortcut grid template rows, GTR. And then just scroll down, hit enter. We're going to do 1FR, 1FR. It's essentially FR is fractional units. We'll hit save, go back to here, and now you can see that we've got the app, which is the dotted purple area, and then we have the main, which now has been broken out into 2 rows. We will go ahead and go to our input area. We're going to do display grid. We're going to do GTC, which is grid template columns. For the input field, I'll do 200 pixels, and the submit button, I'll do 100 pixels. And then we'll add GCG, which is grid column gap, and we'll do 10 pixels there. Okay, and essentially, the gap, right, is the space between the elements. So now if we inspect that, we can see we've got just a grid area defined right there for our input area. Now I like getting that set up right away because it just makes it so much better visually. You know, if you're doing a remote interview, right, it's going to be really nice for them to see, hey, you can do both the UI aspect and build something that has logic around it as well. So it's just another feather in your cap if you go ahead and do it this way. Obviously with code, there's multiple ways to get to the same end result, right? But when you're in an interview, you want to showcase as much as your capabilities as you can, just to help stand apart from the competition, right? So, all right, so our input, we're going to do a type equals text, because we're just focusing on having it be a palindrome. And we're going to go ahead and add an on change, on change to it. All right, now with on change, with buttons or input fields, if you don't want the function to be run as soon as the application loads, you need to go ahead and target an event emitter, okay? This is going to only fire then once there's actual changes done on the element itself. So we're gonna create a function called handle input. And we'll throw that there. We'll go ahead and create that up here. handle input, and it's an arrow function. From there, we're going to create a input variable. It needs to be able to be changed, so we're going to say let input, and then input is going to equal e.target.value. Okay. I'm assuming if you are watching this, you understand why I do e.target.value. If you don't, real quick summary, you have to drill down. This is an event, and the event has a lot of properties to it. And so as you grow in your development career, you come to find out, okay, you want to actually find the target property. In that target property, you want to actually find the value and then assign the value to the variable. So if we go ahead, we'll do a log. Okay. We'll log the input. See if we can side by side this here quick. So now if I do mom, we can see in real time it's capturing M, MO, MOM, right? It changes the value of the input to whatever the complete value is inside of the input field. Okay, great. So we see that's working. So what do we need to do now? Well, we need to create an on-click event for the submit button that essentially runs checking if it's a palindrome, right? So we're going to do an E. Actually, we're not going to do an E because I don't think we're going to use it. So we'll do check if palindrome, and we obviously need to create that up here. Okay. What you're going to see throughout the rest of this video too is I'm really going to be breaking functions down into very small functions. That's another thing that I firmly believe when you're interviewing is another feather in your cap to show that, hey, I understand the solid principles. If you don't know what those are, definitely Google solid principles. Long story short, the smaller your functions are, the more easily testable they are, and the less bugs you're going to introduce. A lot of times I work at companies where I'm digging into code and we have functions that are 300 lines long. That's not wrong, but when you go towards testability and reusability and just making developers' times easier, you tend to find out that smaller functions are going to become your friend. So we're going to create a function called reverse word. Okay. Now, find that up here. And I apologize. I have a mechanical keyboard. I love it. Honestly, as a developer, I prefer having a mechanical keyboard because just being able to push buttons down further, it makes much less impact on my finger joints, and I can code for much longer periods of time. It's like having shock absorbers on your car, right? It's shock absorbers for your fingers. So what do we want to do? We want to take the input and we want to flip it, right? That's what a palindrome is. It's the same spelling of a word backwards as it is forwards. How are we going to do that? Honestly, the simplest way that you can speed to implementation is using a simple for loop. Okay, it's going to be different than running it from the beginning though. We're actually going to run the for loop from the end. All right, and I'll show you why. So we'll do for. I like to shorten things, so we're going to call this value an element. We'll call it lm. We're going to go ahead and pass input into here. All right, so this is called dependency injection. It's another solid principle. Highly recommend Googling why it's an important idea. I'm not going to explain it now, but definitely Google and look up why. All right, so we've got that. So let's go ahead and create another variable. We're going to do palindrome. And that's going to be an array, okay? And we're going to say palindrome dot push elm. All right, we're going to make a little bit of an edit up here though. So there's a couple gotchas that got me. We're going to change this to a minus minus because we're going to be working backwards. We're going to make sure I is greater than 0. By the way, this is a gotcha. And then we're also going to do value.length. This is also a gotcha. Oops, especially if I don't spell it right. There we go. So let's go ahead and we'll just log out real quick. We're going to log out each element. Okay, and a couple of the gotchas here. We'll just have to remember to reset the page. So if I do mom and I hit submit, this is weird, right? We have an undefined. Why is that? M-O, okay, let's do dog. And we're gonna hit submit. What? Undefined, G-O? What's going on here? So the two gotchas that I mentioned is when you're working in the reverse, you're gonna have a couple of things be interesting. First off, we need to change this to a -1, okay? Because the value length of dog is 3, but we all know that indexes start at 0. So essentially what it's doing is it's saying, okay, we're starting at index 3 and we're working our way backwards. So what it's doing, it needs to go 3, 2, 1, 0. And that just doesn't make sense. So I'll show you what goes on there. Great, now we did that, awesome. So now we'll do DOG again. Boom, there we go. So we can see now it's targeting the correct amount of indexes, but we're still getting the undefined. Why is that? Well, it's because we need to actually shorten the length to match the proper amount of indexes that we have, right? So if it's starting at the index of 3, in an array value, DOG is actually 0, 1, 2. So we have to do the value length -1. So now DOG actually equals 2, okay? So now if we go back here, we're gonna type in MOM just so we can see a difference. Awesome. Now it prints out mom. So palindrome is going to have MOM as index 0, 1, 2. All right, so we got that set. Okay, so once you have the word reversed, what do you do next? Well, we need to put it back together, right? So we're gonna create a concat word function. All right, and essentially what we're gonna do is we're going to say palindrome, there we go, equals palindrome dot join, and we're just going to have it join everything as it should be, okay? So the join function, if you haven't understood what that does, it essentially takes everything in the array and it joins it together, it concatenates it together, right? But when you put quotes in there, you can dictate what you want to be between each index. So if you just have empty quotes, it's not going to put anything between each index, and then words are going to look like words. If you have an array full of words, maybe you want to add a space here, because then it's going to put a space between words when you concatenate it together, okay? So different things there, definitely play around with that. But now we're going to go ahead and just log palindrome. And we're going to see that now MOM. See there? It's mom. Awesome. And just for kicks, I'll quick show you what I was talking about. Let's throw a parentheses in there. Okay. Refresh. I'll show you how to get rid of that refresh. Boom. See, now we see mom parentheses, right? That's what join does. We're going to get rid of that though. Save. There we go. Okay, so we've got the word concatenated. Now what? Well, we need to confirm that the word that we just concatenated, that we just joined together, matches the original input. So we're going to do confirm match. I obviously spelled it wrong. Props to you guys. You were probably like, no, dude, you just spelled it wrong. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's like nails on a chalkboard. No. All right, so we'll do a simple if statement here. And there's a bunch of fancy ways you can do this. You know, if you want to do a ternary operator, you can definitely do that too. You know, sometimes when you're under pressure, you forget about the advanced things. So making sure you have your basics down pat is really important, okay? There's research done that when you're under stress, you forget simple things. So if you've got your basics down, you're gonna be good to go. So we'll do input is exactly equal to palindrome. Let's do log. Yay. Okay. And don't forget the return statement there. So we're saying if input is exactly equal to palindrome, and that's how I remember the triple equal signs. I say is exactly equal. That's just how I remember it. We're gonna console.log yay. Oh, let's do a otherwise log boo. Quick side note, if you know you're advancing in your developer career, not having an else statement and doing something called return early is again going to be something that helps separate you from competition. Doing this as a return early, you know, when you're a noob developer, you don't worry about the return statement and you do else. Okay, nothing wrong with that. That's fine. Like I said, there's multiple ways to get to the same conclusion with code, but you know, as a growing developer, returning early is just going to help eliminate lines of code, which each line of code has data attached to it, and it just minutely improves runtime. So now we're going to do mom. Submit. Oh, ding, look, it worked. Yay. All right, well, let's do dog. How about dog? Oh, no, it broke. What's going on? I'll tackle that. I'll show you why that happened. That's why I've been refreshing every time. You remember? So we'll do dog, submit, and it said, no, that doesn't match. Blah. All right, so you might have asked yourself, okay, so what happened there? Why did this happen? Why is all of a sudden palindrome.push not a function? Well, what's happening here is in order to trigger that error, just to make sure you understand what's going on, we say dog and we get a boo, right? And then, okay, let's just clear that field and we're gonna do a mom. And that should work, right? But what's happening? We're not clearing the palindrome array. So essentially, palindrome is being dog mom, right? Because in our code, we have it, we're pushing it. We're not actually clearing the palindrome array. So we got to do that. We got to clear the palindrome array. So let's do clear palindrome. God, that's such a funky word to keep typing all the time. No, I don't want to do that. So this one's really simple. We're just going to make palindrome equal an empty array, okay? We're just resetting the array. And we're doing it after confirm match, right? We don't want to do it before that because we still need the value in each variable to compare them to one another. But once we've done that, we don't need that value anymore. Okay, so now we hit save. Refresh that. And so now I do dog. Awesome, it didn't work. And now I do mom. And it works. And now I do dad. And then it works. And I do blah. And then it works, okay? So that's what was going on before. We were just keep pushing to an array of the values, and we just needed to make sure we clear that array every time after we hit the submit button. All right, so technically that's it. That's the coding challenge. But I like to take it a little bit further. I like to make things fun and interesting and again, continue to showcase your skill set, okay? So we're gonna go down here and let's go ahead and just make a dynamic rendering. Like if rather than console logging everything, if this was a UI only, I want to display to the user if it was a palindrome or if it wasn't a palindrome. So why don't we do this? We're gonna do a success variable, and with this operator, if the let me type this out for you first, just so I don't get way ahead of myself. So we'll do div. We'll say that's a palindrome. Yeah, high five. My dog just perked up. He's like, high five, huh? And we'll call it a class name of success. All right, so what happens is if this variable equals true, then it will go ahead and execute the second part of the function or whatever the heck this is. It's blanking my mind for some reason right now. But if this is false, it's not even going to go ahead and execute any of this code. So this is kind of a nice way to beat the ternary operator, right? A ternary operator would be like success equals true, then have this div tag. But if it equals false, then like do this, okay? That's a ternary operator. This operator is just a little bit cleaner when you want to conditionally render something. If it's true, awesome, it'll go ahead and render it. If it's not true, this code won't even be executed. So let's add a fail case as well, just so we can display to the user if it failed. And then we'll say, sorry, that's not a palindrome. And we'll do a ... We'll just be nice to the person rather than calling him an idiot. So, okay, on save, we see, oh, success is not defined, fail is not defined. Okay, yes, that makes sense. Initially, you might think, oh, okay, well, let's just create some variables up here. And then somewhere down here, go ahead and make that happen in there. Not going to work like that. That's another gotcha. What we want to do is, since we're in a functional component, we want to go ahead and use React's use state effect. Use state hook. So we're gonna go ahead and import use state. It must have heard me. It's like, do you want use effect? No. From React. Okay. And then we're gonna go ahead and do const success, and then we're gonna do set success equals use state, and we're just gonna automate it to false. Okay, this is how you create a state-esque value in functional components. Again, highly recommend you take a look at React's documentation on this, but this is a pretty nice workaround. And then we're gonna do the same for failing. In VS Code, if you wanna go ahead and just duplicate lines, if you're on a Windows, I use Shift-Alt and then the down arrow. I think that works on Macs as well. So we're gonna do fail, and then fail. All right, so we're still not defining any of these yet. So we need to figure out, okay, how do we actually want to use these? Well, in our confirm match function, rather than a console log, let's do set success to true. Okay, but if it's not true, if it doesn't match, we're gonna do set fail to true. Okay, we'll click save. Oh, where are we missing that here? It should be working. Oh, here. Spelling error. If you guys caught that as well, congrats. All right, so let's do dog. Oh no, that's not a palindrome. All right, let's do mom. Oh, that is a palindrome. But wait, why did these both appear here? And we also forgot to delete this one. That's another gotcha. So we'll go ahead and tackle that real quick. So let's go in and quick, just delete that div. I forgot about that one. Oops, please. But what's happening? Why are they stacking on top of each other there? Well, it's kind of a similar reason as to why it was breaking when we entered dog and then mom right away, right? We're not resetting the palindrome variable. Well, with here, we're not resetting the value of fail or success. So now both of them were set to true, and we're just like, oh, okay, blah. So what we need to do is we actually need to reset the form itself. We need to reset these variables at the very beginning. So we're going to do reset form, bada boom, const reset form. Now we don't want this to fire every single time, right? Because if it's the user's first time to this page, both of them are going to be false. There's no reason to take up data to run or reset on both success and fail. So we're going to go ahead and do an if function, or an if loop. If statement, sorry. After working 8 hours a day, your brain's a little bit foggy, and it's Friday for me, so I just got off of work and wanted to get this recorded so we could release another video this weekend. So we'll do if input, if fail or success. Okay, so what I'm saying is if fail is true or if success is true, we need to go ahead and reset the form, right? So we'll do set success to false and then set fail to false. All right, so are you tracking? So once we go through the form once we click the submit button, we're setting a success or we're setting a fail, okay? So when we type in the next word, the first thing we need to do is we need to check, hey, were either of those set? Okay, if they are, we need to set both of them to false. So then that way, it clears out whatever message was currently there, and then it's only going to display the message that's applicable to a success or a fail, okay? So let's go ahead and refresh the page, make sure it loads. So we'll do dog. Oh no, it didn't work. All right, now let's do mom. Hey, bada boom, awesome, cool. So one last thing I like to do, again, you know, the more feathers in your cap to set apart yourself from the competition, the better. I did put a class name for success and a class name for fail. So if it's success, let's just make the color equal green. Okay, and then if it's fail, let's go ahead and make the font color red. All right, so now we don't need the console log anymore. So we'll do dog, and oh darn, dog's not a palindrome, but it's got that nice red color there. And then we'll do mom, and then it's green. So there we go. You know, we did a bunch of things. We created a UI aspect of it that had a good user experience, right? We showed them visually, did it work or did it not work? We also displayed it to the console. We also followed some solid principles by making our functions small, and that way it's easily testable when we run unit tests. And we just had like great thought process along the way. So if you don't get this interview, that's okay. Like if you don't get the job from the interview, I highly recommend you make sure you've got multiple interviews going on at the same time. Work with about 5 or 6 recruiters instead of putting in applications. Because let's be honest, as a developer, you want to work smarter, not harder, right? And recruiters already have their foot in the door, and they're generally in touch with the hiring manager. So you can go ahead and skip the 15, 20, sometimes 30 minutes it takes to type in a bloody application because these companies don't update their application software. Anywho, I hope you found this video useful. Again, you know, subscribe if you're not subscribed, give me a like, tell me more. What do you guys want to learn? Were there coding challenges that you couldn't be successful on? Or are there coding challenges you've heard about that you want me to demo? Let me know. I really appreciate all of you tuning in today, and we'll catch you guys in another couple weeks. Take care.